Okay. USPAP specifically avoids getting into best practices, getting into how you practice your business. USPAP is ethics, period.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
Welcome to the podcast, everybody. Dustin Harris hanging out once again. Got a great episode coming up. My good friend Tim Andersen is in the wings. I want to remind you that we're sponsored by a couple of great companies, one of them being Working RE. Working RE, folks, is always keeping me informed on what is going on in the appraisal world, and it's free to sign up for their newsletter by going to their website at workingre.com, workingre.com, and of course, A La Mode. A La Mode has been a sponsor from the beginning because they are the best. Check them out by going to alamode.com or 800 A La Mode. Want to welcome back to the program my friend of the program, been on as a guest more often than any guest, Tim, and we're over 900 episodes now. Welcome back.
Dustin, thank you. It's good to be back with you, and thank you for stating my age. I appreciate that.
Well, not only are you the most frequent guest, but often at the end of the year, I do kind of a review to see what are the most listened to episodes, and you are often in the top 5 on more than one occasion, meaning if we've got the top 5 listened to, you might be 2 or 3 of those. And I think it really comes down, Tim, to your amazing personality, of course, but the knowledge that you bring to the program in the sense that we are talking about USPAP, and I think that's something that appraisers worry about. That they, of course, and should be, make sure that they're compliant with USPAP. And often questions come up regarding USPAP. And I love that we do Dear USPAP Instructor episodes where real questions from real listeners, we can now talk to you, the expert. So thank you for being on, my friend.
Great. I'm looking forward to it, Dustin. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
Well, it is always good to be with you. Again, I consider you not just a great guest, but a friend, and it's always good to hang out. By the way, those who are on YouTube might notice something a little interesting today, a little cool today, that I finally converted my friend Tim Andersen to blue shirts. So there you go. He's wearing a blue shirt. I'm wearing a blue shirt. Everything's cool. All right, Tim.
But is that the question, Dustin?
No, it's not a question. I just wanted to point it out. The question comes from
the question.
The question comes from
wearing.
I get it. The question that I have on the table, a USPAP question brought to you by one of our listeners is, and I'm just going to paraphrase. This question gets asked often, Tim, and so I think it's a good thing to address, and it has to do with doing an appraisal report for lender A that now gets transferred some way or another. Sometimes, magically, we don't even know what happens in the background, but now lender B is calling and saying, I have in my hot little hand your appraisal, and I want some changes. Let's talk from a USPAP perspective. If you've done an appraisal for lender A and now lender B is asking questions, where does an appraiser go from here?
Okay, Dustin, this is one of USPAP's, I don't want to say darker areas, but this is one of the areas in which USPAP could be clearer. You hire me to appraise your property. Mm-hmm. I appraise your property. And you win the lotto and move to Tahiti, and you turn all your property over to a trust composed of your kids and your children-in-law. And they call me with a question. Well, I can't answer them. Now, your kids are sitting there looking at the appraisal report. They're reading me my appraisal report. And I can't say anything because you, not the trust, you, Dustin, are my client. Now, your kids can call you and say, Dad, call that clown in Florida and tell him it's okay to talk to us. And you call me up and say, hello, clown. It's okay to talk to him. Okay, then I can talk to him.
Because the permission you got from the client.
Absent that authorization, absent that leave from the client, I can't talk to him. Now, typically what happens is the bank sells the paper. And in fact, there was something in the news the other day about JP Morgan bought First Republic Bank and then sold a lot of the assets to other banks. Well, there are going to be appraisals involved there. And so not JP Morgan, but the next bank is going to call appraisal. So is Bank C is going to call the appraiser and say, hey, dude, we got a problem here and we got to work this out and blah, 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 blah. And the appraiser at that point has a decision to make. The appraiser can talk to him, but then that's technically a violation of USPAP. And for the banks that JP Morgan bought the paper from don't exist anymore. Other branches of First Republic Bank too, but not the ones JP Morgan bought the paper from. So the loan officer you spoke with is not there. And the USPAP specifically says, and I don't remember which FAQ it is, but it says USPAP does not address the termination of the appraiser client relationship, excuse me. And even in religious circles, the priest penitent confidentiality curtain, it can be drawn aside after death, after the penitent's death.
Oh,
so
interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, in most cases, not always. If they're family members left alive, maybe not. But if the penitent is dead and there are no family members, then that curtain can be pulled aside. USPAP does not allow for that. So as a result, unless, Dustin, you call me up and say, yeah, talk to my kids, I can't talk to your kids, even though they're holding the report in their hands and reading it to me.
Got it.
Now, can I do so if I want? Yeah, I can. But then that's a USPAP violation. And who knows? Your kids could be setting me up. They don't like my appraisal, but they don't know what to do. So they're going to set me up and get me on the next violation.
Right.
And I'm not saying your kids are snot bags. That's not the point. But the appraiser could be set up that way.
Yeah.
So the USPAP's darkness is not the right word. USPAP's let's call it lack of transparency.
Got it. Okay.
Does in kind of a backhanded manner protect the appraiser from being set up for an ethics violation. So and I would also recommend that the appraiser not call Bank A. If Bank B wants it badly enough, they'll call Bank A and then say, would you please call your damn appraiser and tell him to talk to us? And then Bank A will call. But other than that, Dustin, no, it's a USPAP. It would be a USPAP violation. It would be a violation of confidentiality. And that's a violation of the ethics rule. And the state appraisal boards tend to frown on violations of the ethics rule.
Let me throw in a couple of monkeys into this situation, because these, let's get real for a second, because these things happen all the time. For example, there are times that I might get a call from Bank B who says, oh, well, no problem, because I have a letter in my hand from Bank A that says that the appraisal was transferred to me, so you can talk to me.
No, because the letter is not to you. The letter is not permission from your client. Now, you're right. This happens all the time. It's called a holder in due course. And from a business standpoint, that's recognized. But USPAP doesn't recognize it. And unless your state statute specifically exempts you from that part of the ethics rule, which I will 99% guarantee you it won't, then the letter saying, yep, we transferred it over to you. Thanks, boys. Goodbye. Have a good trip. Doesn't mean anything to the appraiser. It may mean something to the CPA, may mean something to the Treasury, it may mean something to the banking authorities, but to us, no, it doesn't mean anything.
Okay. And from a business, just to clarify, you're saying a letter needs to come from the client A, the one that you actually did the work for, to you, giving you permission to talk to or change the report or what have you. Yeah,
an
exactly.
email
But
or a
and the
text.
purpose of that is, I mean, it could be oral, but then how do you prove it, right? How do you, in other words, it's good to have it in writing, is I guess what you're saying.
That the USPAP does not require it be in writing. USPAP merely requires that you have it.
Right.
Now, I know USPAP instructors who say, "Oh, nobody cares. Go ahead and do it." And I can't say that I disagree with them. But again, I look at that one aberrant situation in which they're setting the appraiser up for an ethics violation by asking for answers, and the appraiser says, "Well, okay, you're a holder in due course. I'll give it to you." Okay, that's the problem.
The other one I'm going to share, and just put it on the table. I already know what your answer is going to be, but I think it's important to bring it up on the podcast because it happens all the time. And it's not just with this, it's with many things. For example, chipping, peeling paint, you call it out. And one of the things that happens is you get these lenders that say, well, I've never had any appraiser come back on me for chipping, peeling paint. In that situation, the one that we're particularly talking about now, bank B, client B calls you and says, "Hey, I've got in my hot little hand a letter of transfer from bank A, and I need you to talk to me." And you say, "No, I can't do that. It's a violation of USPAP. I need to have permission from bank A." And they say, "Well, I've never had this problem before. I work with all kinds of appraisers in your market. Nobody ever does this. What are you talking about?" How do you? Again, this is maybe not a USPAP question at this point. This is more a business decision, but this happens all the time, Tim.
Yeah. First of all, Dustin, that comment, "Well, we've never had this happen before," is a lot of bovine excreta, quite frankly.
I agree.
And the lender's just lying to you. I mean, that's just flat out lying. Okay. And as soon as they say, "Well, we've never had this happen before," then you're going to say, "Oh, good. A first. Hey, that's great. And we get to share it together." No, that's just stupid. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
Now, the appraiser says, "Hey, there's peeling paint." Now, that doesn't mean it affects the marketability of the house. It doesn't mean it affects its livability, its structural integrity, etc. It just means the appraiser called it out. Now, the lender's been out of shape because by having that in the appraisal report, the eventual investor is going to say, "Well, okay, but we'll expect to buy this property at a bigger discount than we would otherwise," which means the bank is putting less money in his pocket. That's what they're bent out of shape about. They don't care about the peeling paint. Okay, well, it's our job, just like the definition of USPAP's, USPAP's definition of an appraiser says, an appraiser is competent, independent, impartial, and objective. Okay, well, independently, impartially, objectively, I looked at the wall and there's peeling paint. Now, you can call it misapplied latex. You can call it paintus interruptus. You can do whatever you want to, but it's still peeling paint. Okay. And if you're going to note it, then obviously it's enough to concern you. Okay. Now, should it concern the appraiser? I don't know. I don't know. I think way too many appraisers get way too excited about peeling paint. Okay. Paint can peel for 11 different reasons. What do? You go down to Home Depot, you buy some sandpaper and some paint, you sand off the old paint, you paint over it, and it goes away
no more
chipping,
peeling paint.
Amen.
We're talking with Mr. Tim Andersen.
This is not a big deal.
Thank you, Tim. We're talking with Tim Andersen.
Go ahead, Dustin. I'll shut up.
No, you don't need to shut up. We've got a question coming up actually after the break, but do want to pause and throw out a quick shout out to our sponsors. Of course, Alamode being the first from the beginning. Alamode has been here teaching us and sharing with us. And when I say teaching, just this week, I was on Alamode's site with training videos, folks. And I'm telling you, Joel Baker and others at Alamode have done it right. If you want to know how to use these many, many features in Alamode for free, you can go to their website and watch their training videos. And they have all kinds of smart things that some of them I have not even heard of. But Joel lays them out very, very well. If you're thinking about switching from any other company and you're a little bit of fear, based about the learning curve, just know that there's some great education out there to help you to do it with ease. Alamode.com or 800 Alamode. Working RE Magazine is keeping us informed as to what's going on. And folks, I think every appraiser right now is concerned about what's going on. One of the things that Working RE does every single year is they do their fee survey. And I would assume things have changed a little bit this year due to what's going on in the market. If you want to know when that fee survey comes out and you want to be a part of that and other information, you need to be part of their free newsletter by going to workingre.com. Again, it's workingre.com. All right, folks, welcome back to the program. We are talking with our good friend, Mr. Tim Andersen. Tim, you are the appraiser's advocate. What the hell does that mean?
Yes, and since I stopped appraising, I wanted to stay in the business. So I consult with other appraisers, and I help them out when they find themselves in trouble with their state boards, or more ideally, I help them stay out of trouble with their state boards. And I do that by going over their reports, pointing out the strengths, the weaknesses, pointing out where the appraiser might not have hewed as closely as necessary to use PAP as was possible, stuff like that. And I also do a lot of consulting with state boards and lenders and stuff like that. So they have a little bit better understanding of what USPAP is and how it affects appraisers, stuff like that.
I will tell you, Tim, that I was on the phone with, Zoom call with a coaching client this week. And they said that they had just gone through a state board investigation, that they had been exonerated. They were elated about that, but they said, Dustin, I didn't learn anything going through the state board investigation, but I learned a ton about being a better appraiser and being more USPAP compliant with working with Tim Andersen as my mentor through this process. So kudos to you, my friend. It's not the first time I've heard that. Very, very much worth reaching out to Tim, even if you don't have a state board investigation, just as a preliminary, as a prophylactic, make sure that you are dealing with your appraisal reports in such a way that you are solid when it comes to those things. So Tim, if people want to reach out to you and ask you about your services and what you provide, how do they get a hold of you?
Dustin, my email address is tim@theappraisersadvocate.com.
Thank you, Tim.
And can you say prophylactic on a family show?
If you look up the definition, yes, I can. Okay, so the next question is very similar to the one that we had before the break. And I'm not going to read it word for word, but a question came in from a listener concerning a revision versus a final. Okay, so basically it's set up this way, Tim, and this happens all the time, right? So we do an appraisal, we do it on September 1st, 2023, and then we do it subject to, let's use the chipping, peeling, paint. Okay, let's say it's an FHA appraisal, we do it subject to the chipping, peeling, paint, and then on September 20th, we get not a final request, meaning go back out and check to make sure the chipping, peeling, paint has been taken care of, but they ask for a revision. They say, hey, the chipping, peeling, paint is taken care of. If you need to go out and check it, that's fine, but we want you to revise the original report to indicate that there was no chipping, peeling, paint, because there is none. We went down to Home Depot, we got the sandpaper, we got the paint, we took care of it, and it's no longer there. What say you, Tim?
Okay, the lender can ask whatever the lender wants to. And you don't need to revise your estimate, or excuse me, your value conclusion, just because they fixed the peeling paint. Because let's face it, in a $500,000 house, what is the impact on value of some chipped peeling paint? There isn't any. So you don't have to revise anything now. You're going to say, well, I want to keep my client happy. Okay, that certainly makes sense. And okay, go ahead and make the revision. Now, if they want you to redo the appraisal report and take out the chipping, peeling paint, okay. But then you got to say, okay, I appraised the property before, and I'm revising that number because I went back and checked, and the chipping, peeling paint isn't chipping and peeling anymore. Somebody went to Home Depot, etc. But that's not USPAP. That's business. And as a result, go ahead.
I just want to clarify, because there could be some confusion if somebody was halfway listening to what you were saying and they were taking comp pictures at the other with the other half of their brain. They might have missed what you said, because you were spot on what you said. But I think we need to clarify something, right? If the lender is asking you to take out the chipping peeling paint and make no mention of it, when on September 1st you were there with a chipping peeling paint, that's different than what you're saying, right?
Yeah, if the lender says, "Oh, we can't sell that on the secondary market," you can't tell me there's a hole in the roof. Just say it looks as if there might have been some possible roof damage in the past, and you go, "Well, wait a minute, I can look through the hole in the roof and watch clouds pass by."
Right?
Okay. No, you cannot accommodate the client in that manner. But if you go back after the roof's been repaired or the chipping peeling paint has been sanded and redone, then yeah, you could take it out of the report, so long as in your letter of transmittal and somewhere in the report you say, "I appraised this before, and the reason I'm doing it again is because I mentioned chipping peeling paint in the first place." Well, that's been fixed, and there is no more chipping peeling paint.
Okay.
But
So
again,
there is,
that's more business than anything else.
perfect. So there is something to be said about the effective date, because on the effective date it was X, and they're basically saying to ignore that, go back and revise the report, and you can't do that without at least disclosing what was there before, right?
The effective date of the appraisal is probably not going to change. However, the date of the appraisal report it's going to be the latter date after you check for the clipping peeling paint. How about for the chipped and peeling paint? Apparently, in the afternoon, English is not my first language, but again, Dustin, this issue is more business than anything else, since USPAP it doesn't address anything like that specifically, because USPAP has no inspection standard. You don't have to, under USPAP, you don't have to inspect the property. You have to disclose you didn't, but you don't have to inspect the property. Now, under the GSE's guidelines, that's totally different.
Right.
But
That's a
under
client thing.
USPAP alone, no, you don't have to inspect the property. Thus, you don't have to make an issue of the chipping peeling paint.
It seems to me, Tim, that both of the questions today, something similar that you've said on both ends is that's a business decision. And it seems like a lot of the questions that we get here on Dear USPAP Instructor episodes, that there is a USPAP component, maybe not, but a lot of times it comes down to a business decision. Can you just take a moment and explain the difference between a USPAP answer versus a business decision answer?
Okay, USPAP specifically avoids getting into best practices, getting into how you practice your business. USPAP is ethics, period. Okay, it says when you are, your appraisal must be credible. Your report must be non-misleading. That's USPAP in a nutshell. So neither one of those has anything to do with business. Okay, now you're walking on a treadmill. All right. Now, that's clearly not a USPAP issue. You have chosen to occupy part of your business day exercising. Great, good for you. I should probably do that. I don't. But the point is, this does not affect how you appraise. This does not affect the credibility of an appraisal or the reliability of a report. Okay, so go ahead and walk. I mean, lift weights, do jumping jacks, ride a bike, take a cold shower, whatever you want to. That's up to you. USPAP says your appraisal must be credible. Your report cannot be misleading, and that's it. So, if you have a question that does not directly address one of those two issues, it's not a USPAP issue, it's a business issue.
Beautiful said. Thank you, my friend, Mr. Tim Andersen, the Appraiser's Advocate. One more time, your email address, my friend.
Tim@theappraisersadvocate.com.
Thank you, my friend. And thank you, listeners, for joining us. If you have a question for Tim or myself, you can send it to him, Tim@theappraisersadvocate.com, or the coach at theappraisercoach.com. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Tim, and we will catch you next time.
Thanks, everybody. Be safe and well. We look forward to the next time. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.